Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about a major corrective movement that is happening right now on Bitcoin. Over the last few days, we have seen Bitcoin reject off of the resistance level at $118,000. Right now, we are dropping below $110,000. Sorry, down to $110,000, below $111,000. And today, we've got to talk about different price targets for this bearish correction. We attempted a bullish breakout yesterday. I even gave you a trade setup, and that trade setup got stopped out because Bitcoin was not able to continue that rally and that next leg higher. We've seen corrections on the gold market in the United States S&P 500 and across a plethora of other financial markets. So today we're going to be talking about why this correction took place on Bitcoin and where we are heading from here. So without much further ado, let's get started. Bitcoin is down several $1,000s over the last 24 hours, down about $2,500, and in doing so, we have seen a minor liquidation event taking place on Bitcoin. You can see that there has been almost $500 million in longs liquidated because people had been very sure that we were going to see a major rally, myself included. I've been very confident that Bitcoin was going to build this inverse head and shoulders pattern that looks a little bit something like this, and then we were going to rally further to the upside. And so far, that has not panned out the way that we had hoped. Yesterday, we talked about entering into a long right here. I went into that long as soon as the video ended. It had an 8x risk to reward ratio, and then Bitcoin almost immediately stopped me out. So we lost that trade, but that's okay. It was a good setup. Bitcoin just had other plans and continue to the downside. We rejected here off of the 24-hourly exponential moving average, and we also saw a bearish cross here on MACD on 4-hourly chart and a bearish cross down here on the 4-hourly chart RSI. On the daily chart, we have a bearish MACD cross right here, and we also have a very low RSI down here at 40. This is one of, if not the lowest RSI readings that we have seen in quite some time. 40. The lowest RSI reading that we have seen recently was at the end of August, and it was 37. That indicates that either one, Bitcoin is about to completely shatter market structure and we're going to have a major correction, or Bitcoin is very, very close to the bottom. And there really isn't a lot of room to wiggle between the two of those. So we're going to go over a couple of different scenarios. The first scenario is that Bitcoin is dropping back down to this uptrending level of support, which sits right here, which is bracketed by this downtrending level of resistance that we have right now. And then Bitcoin will go through a little bit of a bounce and a little bit of a correction and a little bit of a bounce, and we'll rally back up towards all-time high sometime in October. This is most of what crypto Twitter thinks is going to happen, is Bitcoin has to go through a corrective movement before we can break bullish. I very much hope that that's what happens, because if it does, that means that we have validated this long-term bull pennant right here, bullish channel right here, and Bitcoin would most likely then return to the top of this bullish channel, which would possibly send us to at least 135, if not all the way up to $140,000 before the year concludes. That said, if Bitcoin does not hold here around $110,000, that's where things get really, really dicey, and that's because of this chart. This chart over here, which is the CME futures for Bitcoin, shows us that there is currently an active and open CME futures gap right down here at approximately $92,000. Right there. And as you know, most of the time CME futures gaps get filled. If this CME futures gap is to be believed, then that would warrant a correction all the way down to $92,000. Now, do I think that's going to happen? Not exactly. That would be a major crash on Bitcoin. That would be, in totality, a $33,000 drop, a 26% correction on Bitcoin. That said, when you think about it, it's not all that unplausible, considering the fact that if we go ahead and just draw a trend line here, we can see that Bitcoin has roughly been following this same trend line for quite some time. But every time Bitcoin establishes a new trend line, that trend gets a little bit more shallow. It's possible, therefore, that we could drop down to $92,000 and continue to set a slightly shallower uptrending level of support that would then be bounced off of, sending Bitcoin significantly higher. Now, I don't think right now Bitcoin is going down to $92,000. I want to make it very clear that we're not calling for a $92,000 Bitcoin. But what I will say is that that is probably the lowest that Bitcoin would go, and that would almost certainly not be a bear market forming. It would almost certainly get bought up very, very aggressively if we did drop down to that level. I don't think that that would shatter people's confidence and send us down to $30,000 like some people say it would. I think, however, it would be an excellent buying opportunity. So if you wake up in 3 months and Bitcoin's at 92, buy like hell. All right, now, why is Bitcoin dropping today? Part of it also has to do with the gold market for a variety of different reasons, mostly having to do with United States Federal Reserve policy. We are seeing a correction on gold. This is mostly predicated on the fact that gold has already gone through a massive rally. Even just a month and a half ago, we saw gold trading at $3,300 per ounce. we saw a $480 movement, 15% movement over the course of 36 days. This is like meme coin level movement, but it's on gold. We've seen a huge movement on gold, and we've been telling you for quite some time that gold needed to correct and to cool off. That said, gold probably won't do that forever. It probably will end up continuing this rally all the way up to at least $4,000 per ounce. We will probably hold on the gold chart right here at this uptrending level of support, and gold will probably use this as a bull flag to break even higher, at which point in time some bullishness will probably return to Bitcoin. Something you have to keep in mind is a chart that we've shown you many times, which is the Bitcoin over gold chart, where in the history of Bitcoin, we almost always see something like this, where when gold is rallying, we are not seeing a rally in Bitcoin, as you can see right here, but when the gold rally stops, that's when Bitcoin takes off. And so far during the course of this bull market, we have seen Bitcoin rallying at the same time as gold, which speaks to risk off inflationary hardened assets such as Bitcoin and gold's strength. That said, the old trend of gold corrects when Bitcoin is rallying, for example, right here, gold correction, Bitcoin bull market, right? This old trend is still intact, in my opinion. And so when gold does take a break, at some point it will have to, because its RSI, if you haven't seen, is actually the highest, the most overbought that it has been in a very long time, right? Let's make the argument that gold's going to have to take a break sometime soon. On the monthly chart, this is the highest RSI that the gold chart has seen since 1980. Yeah, 9 years after we went off the gold standard. So this is the highest we've seen RSI. So it might run to $4,000, $4,200, but it's going to stop, and it's going to stop big time sometime soon. And when that happens, then this old trend of gold corrects, Bitcoin rallies is going to take place. And that's probably going to be the narrative that drives Bitcoin up to $200,000 for the first time. That, however, is not happening right now because gold still very much has the momentum. So people are looking at gold saying, man, even though gold's having a correction over these last couple of days, it's doing extremely well. So people are not really paying too much attention to Bitcoin because gold has stolen the spotlight, in the same way that when Bitcoin runs, the altcoins don't run very much because the big dog is playing right now, i.e. Bitcoin. Well, gold is the big dog over Bitcoin, at least for now. So when big dog is running, then Bitcoin slows down a little bit because it's got the attention. Now, that said, Bitcoin also on the short term tracks very closely with the United States S&P 500, and the United States S&P 500 has taken a major drop over just the last couple of days. Ever since Monday, S&P 500 is down 1.5%, which is very much a bearish catalyst for Bitcoin because Bitcoin tracks the S&P 500 so closely. Those two reasons, the long-term price action on gold and the short-term correction on the S&P 500 are part and parcel of a Bitcoin drop. And I think that's the main reason why we rejected here yesterday. We were not able to get through here because people are concerned that S&P 500 is going to continue to drop on certain economic data that we've heard out of Jerome Powell. And also, they are not wanting to buy Bitcoin right now because Bitcoin is being overshadowed by the growth of gold. But remember, a successful investor gets really good at doing one thing. And they do it over and over and over again. What they get good at doing is they get good at seeing what's going to happen in 6, 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and they front run it. So right now, when everybody is not paying attention to Bitcoin because they're looking at, oh my gosh, stocks are crashing, should I buy the dip? Oh my goodness, gold's rallying, should I buy gold? And FOMO into there. What we see is that markets are cyclical. We go from a period of gold rallying and that being not great for Bitcoin to gold crashing and that being very good for Bitcoin. We can look down the road and say, this is what's going to happen in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 years, and we can prepare for that. Right now, this seems bad for Bitcoin, but remember, your goal is not to follow the masses who do the easy thing, which is they buy into the thing that's popular. Our job as successful investors is to buy into the thing that nobody's paying attention to. As Warren Buffett would always say, buy the blood in the streets, even if it's your own blood. And so as Bitcoin drops lower here, I highly encourage you to continue investing because as Bitcoin drops lower, that simply means less and less people are paying attention to Bitcoin right now because they're aping into things like gold, aping into stocks, even though we know that historically Bitcoin has massively outperformed both of those markets and will continue to do so for the next 10 to 15 years at minimum. And so when we see these corrections, this presents us with an excellent opportunity to continue investing. That is what I believe is going to happen on Bitcoin. A correction here. Hopefully we hold here. If not, we could drop back down to 107. If not, we could drop even farther. But in general, unless Bitcoin drops below 107, that gives us a bullish September. And so that would almost certainly lead to a very strong October. So I am not yet ready to get rid of my price prediction of $130,000 by October 15th. I'm still going to stand by it for now because I don't think it's too late to throw in the towel. I think Bitcoin could go on a very large rally here very quickly. We just need a little bit of a kick in the pants in the right direction. And a protracted correction on gold could be just the thing that does that. Now, gold is great, but you cannot stamp your seeds into gold. You can, however, stamp your seeds into titanium. So I highly encourage you to check out Stamp Seed with the link in the description box down below. They never get your seeds. They simply send you a really dope hammer. Like, I've just been sitting here for the last few hours pretending to be Thor. Like, I'm the only one strong enough to pick up the hammer, right? You can stamp. They've got the little stamps over here in this awesome little box, right? You can stamp your seed phrases. Check this out. See this? Got a box. Open it. Got all the stamps right there. See? Got the different letters in them. You can use the stamp and the hammer to stamp your seed phrases into the titanium. The reason you would stamp it into titanium is that it is fire resistant. If you have this in your safe or you put it, I'm not going to give you any ideas, but if you put it somewhere else that you're worried about a fire, then they will be safe. And so I highly recommend doing that, whether you're putting it in a safe, whether you're hiding it somewhere in your house, whether you're burying it in the backyard, whatever it may be. I highly recommend you securing your seeds against fire because self-custody is very important in the world that we're going into. So check out Stamp Seed, use coupon code JEB15 with the link in the description box down below to get 15% off at checkout. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content because we have a lot of very cool things coming up. We have some new sponsors coming up. We're expanding the team. We're bringing on a new employee. We're going to be bringing back coffee and crypto very soon, so stay tuned for that. Probably about a week and a half from now, maybe 2 weeks from now, we'll be looking at bringing back coffee and crypto. Got a lot of work coming. We're going to be working on doing some more editing on the videos. Very excited about where the channel is going, very excited about where Bitcoin is going, and very excited for you to be here. If you need one reason to subscribe to the channel, I'll give you one. I have been doing technical analysis on the Bitcoin chart for the better part of a decade now. I have made almost 8,000 pieces of content on Bitcoin technical analysis right here on the Crypto Jeb YouTube channel. I'm 25 years old. I've been doing this since I was 16 years old. And I want to show you how to analyze these markets so you can be prepared for anything. Right now, it's really simple. If we drop, you buy more because a bear market is very, very, very unlikely right now. If we rally, then you should have wished that you bought more today. That's really the main takeaway. So big shout out to all of you guys who are staying confident. I encourage you to continue to do so. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.